Hi, Jackie here. I'm the Manager of Therapeutic Programming for AFA, and it's my pleasure to introduce Ellen Cosgrove, owner of Dinner and Dialogue. In today's virtual community class, we'll be cooking. So let's find our way to the kitchen and enjoy this awesome program.
Hi everyone, my name is Ellen and welcome to my kitchen. I'm coming to you from Brooklyn, New York. And I don't know about you, but I've been spending a lot of time in my home the past couple weeks, and especially in my kitchen, which has been great. I find that cooking really helps me in times when I'm stressed out or anxious. And the best part is you get to cook and then have something delicious afterwards. So today our theme is home. And we're going to think a little bit about and talk a little bit about what food reminds us of home, what food reminds us of childhood. I tend to think that some of the dishes that we hold most dear and that we love the most remind us of a time that we're nostalgic for. So today I'm going to teach you how to make a fruit crisp, and I'm going to make it with apples today because that is what I have. The recipe we're going to use is really simple and is one that you can substitute whatever you have in your own kitchen. So now we're going to show you what we're using, all right? So today we're going to use some pretty simple ingredients. Like I said, we're going to use apples. I'm using like a small Macintosh apple, but you could really use whatever apple you want. I'm going to use about a half of a lemon, but you also could use orange, or if you don't have citrus, that's totally fine. I'm going to use some maple syrup today as my sweetener, but you could use sugar, you could use honey, really whatever you have. Actually, I'm running out of sugar right now, and I really like the flavor of maple syrup in it, so that works out. I'm going to use some all-purpose flour and some rolled oats, and you also could use instant oatmeal, or if you had granola, you could use that, or muesli, you could use that. And if you wanted, you could cut up some nuts and put this in it as well. But really use what you have. One thing to know, if you do use granola or something that already has sweetener, just keep that in mind when you do add the sweetener in. I'm also going to use some butter today. Okay, I firmly believe that butter makes everything better, but if you are vegan and or don't want the butter, you can use coconut oil, you can use vegetable oil, and then I'm going to use cinnamon and a little bit of salt. And that's what we're using. But as you can see, you can really use what you have. If you have pears, please use pears. If you had peaches, even canned peaches would work. If you had plums, those are delicious. Even strawberries make a really delicious crisp. But my sister dropped off a bunch of apples last week, so I'm going to use apples. All right, let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut up our apples. So I'm actually, for this, make sure you wash them too. This one has a little bit more stuff on it. I'll wash it off. But for this, I'm going to leave the skins on. I know that's controversial, but I actually like it with the skins on better, and it makes it so much easier. So feel free to peel it if you would like, but I'm going to keep the skins on. So we're going to cut the apples in half, then in quarters. Then we need to get the core out of there. So if you put the apple down like this and put the knife at an angle, you can cut the core right out of there. So do it for all of these. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 5 small Macintosh apples. So then I'm going to cut it like this into smaller pieces. And then that smaller piece I'm going to cut into 3 pieces. And you can just put that aside. So we're going to do that with all of our apples. Really, you just want to try to get the apples to be all the same, about the same size, so that they cook in the same amount of time. And the smaller you cut them, technically, the faster they'll cook, but you still want chunks, right? You don't want anything too small. So the reason why I did apple crisp as my food that reminds me of home is, so I grew up in upstate New York, in a city, but one thing that's great about upstate New York is that where I grew up, it was really easy to get out of the city. And so my parents would bring us to farms a lot as kids, and even as adults, to pick lots of fruit. So we went in the summer and we picked strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, And in the fall, we picked apples, lots of apples, and we pick a lot of them. There are 4 of us, so we were hard workers. And we pick all this fruit and we bring it back and then we'd preserve it. Either we'd freeze it, so we used to have like frozen strawberries in our freezer for months. And then, at Christmas, we'd make a strawberry rhubarb pie, or we'd preserve the apples by making applesauce, or we'd, keep it in like a cool, damp place in our basement, or cool, dry place, not a cool, damp place, in our basement, so that we could have apples, months after picking them. So, and my dad loves baking. He loves sweets. He really loves pie. But he's always trying to make the food he's baking a little bit healthier. So he does a lot of making fruit crisps with substitutions without sugar, because he's always trying to watch his sugar, but still, get that. Oh, I did this one wrong. It's okay if you do it wrong. You just cut it off. He's always trying to get, the kind of the satisfaction of those baked goods without all the sugar. So he and my mom made a lot of apple crisp when I was a kid. And it's just a go-to. It's easy. I mean, obviously apple pie is delicious, but it's much more involved, especially if you make your own crust. With this, you really just need to find whatever you have on hand and you can put it together and make something really delicious. So it's definitely a go-to in my home now, but also in my home when I was a kid. And what I like about it too is you can have it for breakfast. You can have it for dessert. So if I have it for breakfast, I usually heat it up and put a scoop of yogurt on it, which is amazing. And then for dessert, you can just have it as is, obviously. Or you can put a scoop of ice cream on it. That is the best. So it's a versatile dish. We're almost there. Almost done cutting up the apples. But isn't this so much faster than peeling it, right? Saving you a lot of time. So yeah, so it's a versatile dessert that can function as a dessert or breakfast, which is my favorite. It's also a really nice one when you can go over to someone's house. Obviously, we're in a weird moment right now, right, where we can't be with our loved ones and be with our friends the way we're used to. We're used to being able to go over to people's houses, and so this is a strange moment, but when we're allowed to do that again, this is a great dish to bring to a potluck or bring over when you're going to someone's house for dinner and you want to make dessert, because you can make it with what you have. And it's delicious. And I really think if you start baking anything with cinnamon and apples, that it makes you feel better. So my question to you then is, what dish reminds you of home? Like, what dish reminds you of childhood? And I would love for you to write a little comment underneath the video, or send us a picture of what you make, or even send us a video. That would be really cool. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to prepare our apples. So I put them into this 8x10 pan that is oven safe and also microwave safe. So that way if you want a microwave, do that. I'm going to put in a juice from half a lemon. So I'm going to take out the seeds, and then you can do it over your hand like this to make sure you don't get seeds in there. And if a seed goes in there, oh, I just got a seed in there. It's okay. Not the end of the world. And if you need If you don't have a lemon, you can use an orange. Probably could use a lime too, though it definitely would be a little bit of a different flavor. And also if you don't have any lemon, that's totally fine. Let's get that seed out of there. Okay, and then I'm gonna put in a half of a teaspoon of cinnamon. So I'm not gonna put any sugar in this, but feel free to if you want. You could put in a teaspoon of regular sugar. All right, mix that up. It's also a good time to turn on your oven, so I'm gonna preheat my oven to 350 at this moment. Okay, so the apples all have to go. Put that to the side. And then I'm going to add in 1 cup of oats, a half a cup of flour, and I crumbled up the butter into, or I cut them up into little pieces like this. So I'm going to put those in as well. I'm going to put another teaspoon of cinnamon. You also could add nutmeg if you want, for allspice, but I like the cinnamon. And then for my sweetener, I'm going to put 1/4 of a cup of maple syrup. I'm going to bring this over so you can see what this looks like. Oh, missed it. There you are. Oh, and a little bit of salt. Forgot about that. 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. Just to brighten it up. And then mix it up. Mix it up. And this is an opportunity, if you want, to get your hands dirty. So make sure your hands are clean. And then you can start kind of mixing the cubes of butter in with it. So this kind of breaks up the butter. So that way you get a little bit more of an even consistency. Okay. I mean, if you don't get to play with your food with your hands, right? Like, what's the fun in that? Adult Play-Doh. Okay. There we go. It's gonna look like that. And if you're using sugar, it's gonna look a little bit drier, but don't worry about that. Okay, so now I'm gonna take my apples and I'm going to sprinkle this all on top. Try to get an even coating of everything, but it's okay if a couple apples poke their heads out. There we are. I want to use the spoon to get it the last little bit out. It's almost like an oatmeal cookie on top, but a healthier oatmeal cookie because it has maple syrup, or I was going to keep on telling myself that. Okay, I'm going to put just like a little bit more cinnamon on top. Starting to use all of my cinnamon just to kind of give it a little bit of extra flavor, but no pressure at all. You also could use like cardamom in this if you wanted to really spice it up and do something different. That would be delicious. Okay. So there you are. It looks ready to go. I'm now gonna put it in the oven for about 30 to 40 minutes. 350. Also, you could put it in the microwave for about 10 minutes and it would be good done as well. Okay, it's been about 40 minutes later. So I'm going to take this out of the oven and check it. Make sure to use oven mitts because it is really hot. Oh, it looks delicious. Turn off my oven. And you can see that it looks so good. Really, really good. One way just to make sure it's done is to just make sure your fork can go through any of the apples. And I can see that the apples are done. We can crust on top. I'm going to get myself a bowl. And I'm going to give myself a little bit of it. There you go. Easy apple crisp. So once again, we'd love to hear your stories of what food reminds you of home and what food you're cooking at home right now. So please write us a little note underneath this or send us a picture or send us even a video. Because if I can make a video, you can definitely make a video. So thanks again, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. From my home to yours, please enjoy this apple crisp.